Hello, I'm Isaac Ostrom. Thanks for checking out another one of my videos. Today I want to talk about the different types of sand and how they apply in the tile trade. I get a ton of questions on what sand we use. Here on the West Coast we do a lot of floating, so we have a lot of background using the different types of sand that work good for wall floats and deck mud or dry pack. And I think the one that's probably most applicable to you is the dry pack mortar. I've gotten a lot of questions on what type of sand to use for dry pack because we have bag mud here. Our mud usually comes, our dry pack comes in a bag that's already pre-mixed. And you guys have seen that. I'll put those cards up so you can see how we do that. But it's already pre-mixed, so we don't have to worry about it. It's a good formula. It's a good sand. But if you're on the East Coast or in the middle of the country, you guys probably don't have access to that. There are a few bag muds out there that they're starting to make, but for the most part, a lot of you guys are left up to making your own. So there's many different types of sand. At the rock yard that I went to, there's probably 6 or 8 different types of sand. There's plaster sand, there's mortar sand, there's mason sand, there's concrete sand, there's PG&E sand. So plaster sand has coarse granules. It compacts really nicely, and when you trowel it, it will leave a real fine surface. And for deck mud, that works really good. For wall mud, the coarse grains make it stickier. It'll stand up more as a mortar instead of slumping. So when you get it on a wall, it will stay up on the wall. It won't want to sag and come off. The other type of sand I want to show you is probably what you're finding at like Home Depot if you're going to buy it. They call this mortar sand, and they use it a lot in concrete block construction. Brick masons probably use it to make their brick mortar. And it's a finer, it's got more rounded granules in it. And I think what that allows is a nicer grout joint. So when they're pointing their grout joints on their block and their bricks, it comes out a lot smoother. So, but the problem with this sand is that it doesn't compact as well as the plaster sand, because all of the sharp little shards in the sand and the plaster sand make it compact and lay flat. All the little shards kind of lay flat. And so if you've seen our deck floats and our dry packs, you'll notice we get them really flat. It's almost like glass. And you don't have to pack it so hard because the granules kind of want to pack together. So, I think that's probably the one thing that I get asked the most about dry pack is I get questions about, well, I'm packing it as hard as I can, and it's still wanting to flake off the next day. When you take your vacuum on your dry pack and it sucks up a bunch of the top layers of it. Well, a lot of that has to do with the type of sand you're using, but also it has to do with the amount of cement that you're putting in your deck mud. So a lot of you guys have sand topping mix that they call it, or spec mix, and I think those, as they're sold on the East Coast, we don't even have that over here. When it's sold on the East Coast, I think that's like a 3-to-1 sand to cement ratio, and to me that's too high. For one, it'll make it clump. It'll make, when you're packing your mud and you're trying to screed off your mud, it makes it want to clump. You'll get these little balls because it's too rich. There's too much cement, and the cement part of it just wants to ball up. Over here on the West Coast, we use a 5-to-1. You can go like 4.5-to-1, but even a 4-to-1 to me is too rich. When you go a 5-to-1, your mud is a lot easier to screed. It packs down a lot better with less water, and the next day you'll find it's actually harder. I think it packs better, and so you take your vacuum over it and you won't suck up anything. And I get that question a lot because people will see us on the West Coast, we'll do our deck floats, and it looks like glass, and then some guys are just struggling with it. They go, I packed it, I put a ton of water in it. Well, it's probably the mix. 3-to-1 is way too rich. 5-to-1 is a good mix for deck mud. And I'll probably make a video on those. So there you have it. Those are the two main types of sand. You got mortar mix that you'd find like at your Home Depot, and you have plaster sand, which you're probably only going to find at a rock yard or a stucco place, or plaster. You know, I don't know what you guys have in other parts of the country, but we have big rock yards that have different types of sand. In our area, we have a history of hydraulic mining, and so what they used to do is they'd wash away all of the mountainsides, and so all of our rivers, you know, we're in California, so we got the Sierra Nevada and the foothills, and then we have the Central Valley, and then we have the ocean. Well, all the rivers run into the Central Valley. The Sacramento River is our big river, and then that runs out to the ocean. Well, what they do in hydraulic mining up in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada, they would take big hydraulic hoses and they just wash away a whole mountainside. You know, that's obviously before environmental protections and stuff. A lot of our stuff is chock full of mercury and everything, cyanide, things that, you know, they used to use in mining to extract gold. But anyways, what's left over from that is tons of gravel. So we don't have any shortage of gravel here in California, the Central Valley. Literally, our rivers are chock full of them. You'll just see huge gravel beds where everything, the mountainside basically got washed away, and what's left is gravel. So we have some really high quality sands. It's cheap, it's easy to get. You know, it's really interesting how geography can play into the different types of building materials we use. Also, we're here on the West Coast, so also on the West Coast we have a lot of trees. We have a lot of pine trees, we have redwoods, we have a lot of Doug fir. So I think lumber is a little more readily available than other parts of the country. I know a lot of you guys can't get redwood, which we have abundance. I can go to any lumber yard, Home Depot, anywhere around here. Tons of redwood, easy to get, so that's what we use for our screed strips. But I've had a lot of you guys ask me, you know, what can you use besides redwood? Can you use cedar? I'm like, well, you can probably use cedar, but anyways, that's a fun little fact. But yeah, two main differences of sands. You got one that has more rounded, fine granules, one with a little coarser, sharper, and you definitely want to be using this one, the plaster sand. So I hope that helped. I hope this video gives you a little more knowledge on how to get better at your job. And again, guys, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I hope you're doing well. I hope the business that you're trying to create or whatever you're doing is working really well. And if you have a job that you don't really like and you want to get into, you know, playing in the sand for a living, you know, it's hard work, but it's very rewarding. For me, I think it saved my life. And so, you know, that's part of my mission, is to carry to the message. If you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, drug and alcohol addiction or whatever your addictions are, I mean, they can come in 1,000 forms. If you're not feeling well, maybe the job that you're doing isn't right for you. You know, some of us are just meant to be physical. Some of us are just meant to build things, and that's what fulfills us. That's what fulfills me. So, you know, I can work at a desk for 2 or 3 days a week, but after that, man, I need to be doing something. I need to build something, create something. So if that's you, you know, check out my videos. I hope you get inspired. Leave your comments in the section below. Make sure to watch the next video coming up. I'll show you how to make mortar out of these sands. And love you guys. See you on the next video.